The following is distributed by the Berean Call.
Chapter 12. The Aryan Connection. We have seen that the quote-unquote messianic myth refuses to die because it is perpetuated in one version, the true one, by the Spirit of God working in men's hearts, and in a counter version by Satan, who is called in the Bible the God of this world. If he is to win the battle for planet Earth, then Satan must install his counterfeit Messiah. Moreover, through the Antichrist, Satan must bring peace, prosperity, and goodwill among men, not through their believing the gospel that Jesus Christ died for our sins and was resurrected, proving that the penalty had been paid in full, but through their rejecting this gospel and claiming their own inherent perfection and godhood. Commenting upon this continuing conspiracy, the French philosopher René Guénon wrote insightful and instructive words in 1921, quote, "The false messiahs we have seen so far have only performed very inferior miracles, and their disciples were probably not very difficult to convert, but who knows what the future has in store? When one thinks of the series of attempts made in succession by the Theosophists, one is forced to the conclusion that these were only trials, experiments as it were, which will be renewed in various forms until success is achieved. Not that we believe that the Theosophists, any more than the occultists and the spiritualists, are strong enough by themselves to carry out successfully an enterprise of this nature. But might there not be, behind all these movements, something far more dangerous which their leaders perhaps know nothing about, being themselves in turn the unconscious tools of a higher power?" Unquote. The quote-unquote higher powers push Hinduism, whether it be through Blavatsky's Theosophy, H.G. Wells' Open Conspiracy, Donald Keyes's Planetary Initiative for the World We Choose, or Benjamin Krem's Lord Maitreya. This was true in Hitler's case also. Aryanism is Hinduism, and this is the Antichrist's universal religion. It is quite well known that Hinduism, with its quote-unquote embrace that smothers, ultimately absorbs all religions except biblical Christianity. Syncretism is the attempt to swallow Christianity also by turning Jesus into just another Hindu avatar, a temporary manifestation for his time of the quote-unquote Christ consciousness that is attainable by all of us. The lie of the Aquarian gospel that Jesus studied in India under the gurus is central to that attempt to turn Jesus into a Hindu Christ. As early as 1961, theologian Nels Ferre said, quote, "The main fight, make no mistake, is between the Christian faith in its inner classical meaning and the new Orientalized versions. The winds are blowing gale-strong out of the Orient." Unquote. Those gale-strong winds converted Hitler to the Aryan, that is Hindu, myth of blood, and blew with hurricane force out of Germany across Europe and the world at horrible cost of untold millions of lives. In the last 2 decades, those winds from the east have blown into Europe and America a steady stream of Eastern mysticism and assorted quote-unquote holy men. This is not by chance. It is part of the plan. The long battle may be reaching a climax. The Holocaust will be far greater this time. Invasion from the East. Most people naively presume that the recent invasion of the Western world by Buddhist monks, Zen masters, yogis, swamis, babas, and other assorted Buddhist and Hindu gurus has been a natural development of a growing mutual interest between East and West. On the contrary, it is a deliberate and final stage in the creation of a new world order. Those behind it have enlarged and accelerated their efforts since Krishnamurti failed his lone mission. Not surprisingly, the plan is still closely linked with the swastika and Hitler's shattered dream of a new age for Aryan man. That the plan involves conversion of the world to Hinduism is very well known. What is almost unknown, however, is the fact that much of the credit for establishing today's New Age movement belongs to a secret but very large worldwide missionary network of Hindu and Buddhist leaders known as the Vishna Hindu Parishad, or VHP. The average Hindu in India or elsewhere will protest, often sincerely, that Hinduism, quote, respects all religions and does not proselytize, unquote. This false idea is persistently promoted by Hindu leaders in order to justify the strong position taken against Hindus being converted to other faiths. This attitude was publicly proclaimed once again in uncompromising terms at the World Hindu Conference held in Kathmandu, Nepal, during June 11 through 14, 1982. Quote, in a strongly worded statement, the WHC condemned the activities of Muslim and Christian missionaries among Indian people and called for Hindu countries to pass laws banning such conversions, unquote. Yet the World Hindu Conference, WHC, is backed by the VHP, whose main goal is to convert the entire world to Hinduism. Such bald hypocrisy can only be understood in the context of Hinduism itself. Because of their belief that all is illusion, Hindus have no conscience about changing meanings of words and denying objective facts when it serves their purpose. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, for example, was specifically commissioned by his guru Dev to develop a method for converting the world to Hinduism. Transcendental meditation is that method. It is pure Vedic Hinduism, packaged for deceptive sale in the West. Originally, Maharishi called it the spiritual regeneration movement. Few Westerners bought it because they were not interested in Hindu religion. So, without changing the contents or even the wrapping of the package, Maharishi simply gave it a new label, the science of creative intelligence. Thereafter, Maharishi and his growing organization denied that TM was related at all to religion and insisted, even under oath in court, that it was strictly a science. Similar deliberate lies are used with apparent good conscience by almost all of the gurus. Paramahansa Yogananda, founder of the Self-Realization Fellowship, was specifically sent to the West by his guru to teach Kriya Yoga, which, like TM, is pure Hinduism right out of the Hindu scriptures. Quote-unquote self-realization is the goal of all yoga, and it means to realize that one is God. Nothing could be more religious than that. Yet with straight faces, all of the yogis insist that practicing yoga will not change anyone's religious beliefs. On the other hand, Yogananda claimed that during the 32 years he spent fulfilling his mission in the United States, he had personally initiated, that is converted, over 100,000 Westerners into Kriya Yoga, or Hinduism. Every yoga teacher is a Hindu or Buddhist missionary. Though, like Yogananda, he or she may wear a cross, insist that Jesus was a great yogi, and protest that yoga is not religion but science. This is the most blatant of lies. Yet it has been so widely proclaimed and believed that in America's public schools, beginning in kindergarten, and in almost every other area of society today, yoga and other forms of Hindu-Buddhist occultism are taught and accepted as science. In contrast, Christianity has been thrown out of the schools and is being crowded out of every other area of life in the quote-unquote broad-minded move to replace religion with New Age science. The Vishva Hindu Parishad. Professor Johan Agard of Aarhus University in Denmark tells of traveling in India in January 1979 and reading in the newspapers of a World Hindu Conference being held in Allahabad, India. Quote, I immediately began to investigate what it was, related Dr. Agard, but nobody could give me any information, unquote. There were 60,000 participants, with many thousands of these coming as delegates to this huge conference from other countries. Dr. Agard continues, quote, It seemed very strange that so large a conference could take place without even the indigenous theologians and students of religion knowing anything about it. Only in June 1980 did I discover that the Vishva Hindu Parishad, or VHP, was behind the huge conference of 1979. Even the Hindus knew nothing more about the organization, or at least they were unwilling to tell me anything, unquote. Professor Agard relates how he finally succeeded, only after much persistent investigation, in locating and visiting the headquarters of the VHP in Delhi, India. He also managed to buy the 1979 conference report and similar reports from other conferences held around the world. Eventually, he located and purchased copies of all the back issues of VHP publications. Materials printed by the VHP make a stack a meter high and are strictly for its own members. The organization operates under such complete secrecy that Agard's investigation discovered, quote, "No European libraries have those publications. It was even more surprising that the public research libraries in Delhi did not know of them, nor are they registered in the common listings," unquote. By poring over the material he had uncovered, Dr. Agard was able to confirm that, quote, "the VHP is, in fact, Hinduism's International Missionary Council," unquote. One of the primary goals listed in its constitution is, quote, "to establish an order of missionaries, both lay and initiate, for the purpose of propagating dynamic Hinduism, representing the fundamental values of life comprehended by various faiths and denominations, including Buddhists, Jains, Sikhs, Lingayats, etc., and to open, manage, or assist seminaries or centers for spiritual principles and practices of Hinduism in all parts of the world," unquote. And this is the organization that denounces Christians and Muslims for converting Hindus? Hindu-Buddhist tolerance and ecumenism. The close cooperation and relationship between Hinduism and Buddhism in this plan of creating a new world order is revealed by the fact that the president of the 1979 VHP-backed missionary-minded World Hindu Conference was none other than the Dalai Lama, spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism. Yet whenever he tours in the West, the Dalai Lama is widely received by church and political leaders as a spokesman for religious tolerance and ecumenism, which simply means converting everyone to the Hindu-Buddhist worldview. This kind of tolerance has been called the embrace that smothers. For example, Hinduism, in the name of tolerance for all religions, generously receives Jesus Christ into its all-encompassing embrace. This, however, turns him into a Hindu Jesus, another avatar like Rama or Krishna, the very antithesis of the biblical Jesus, who has been destroyed in the name of tolerance and ecumenism. Included under the VHP umbrella organizations are such groups as Aurobindo's Integral Yoga, the Practical Yoga of Vivekananda's Vedanta Society, the Theosophical Society of Blavatsky, Rudolf Steiner's Anthroposophy, and virtually every other Buddhist and Hindu sect operating in the West. These are all missionary organizations, and they have converted millions of people to the Hindu-Buddhist worldview. Such activity by Christians would not be tolerated for a moment in a Hindu country. India has excluded foreign missionaries from entering its borders since shortly after it gained independence. Yet she sends her missionaries to the world, protesting their tolerance for all religions and claiming to teach only science. Strangely enough, this lie has been believed, and it has become the very foundation of the New Age. The VHP shares a common leadership with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, or RSS, which is the strongest religious political factor in India, and knowledgeable sources believe that the RSS will take control of India within the next decade. When that happens, it will be forbidden by law in India for a Hindu to convert to another faith. Of course, this law will be passed in the name of Hinduism's broad-minded tolerance for all religions. Few people will notice the glaring, hypocritical contradiction because so many have accepted Hinduism's teaching that all is illusion, and we can create with our minds anything we wish. Such is the teaching of the Unity School of Christianity, religious science, mind science, Christian science, Est, Erhard Seminars training, and scores of other positive thinking and assorted New Age self-help groups. Hitler's Nazism represented exactly the same brand of tolerance and ecumenism, which may be why it is still so widely respected in India today. He espoused a quote-unquote positive Christianity that embraced every religion within the new Reich Church. The ecumenical slogan was, "One people, one Reich, one faith." Dr. Hans Kurl, Nazi Minister of Church Affairs, declared, quote, "True Christianity is represented by the party. The Führer is the herald of a new revelation," unquote. Like the New Age today, Hitler's quote-unquote new revelation was a rejection of the Bible and a return to Hindu-Buddhist occultism. Its Jesus Christ was anything but what the Bible taught. New Age leaders echo this same Hindu-Buddhist perversion of Jesus Christ. Swami Rama, founder of the Himalayan International Institute of Yoga Science and Philosophy in Chicago, explains New Age pseudo-Christianity like this, quote, "In order to become true members of the Church of Christ, a person must know not who Jesus was, but what Christ is. Christ, Ishvara, is the very personal force pervading this universe that guides and illuminates every aspirant. It is not an embodied person, but rather the force in which all individual beings are divine sparks. Jesus Christ was perhaps the greatest of all yogis." Unquote. In making that statement, Swami Rama has identified himself with the spirit of Antichrist by the classical biblical test given in 1 John 4, verses 1 through 3. Hitler not only identified himself with this spirit from hell, but he came the closest to being the actual Antichrist of anyone who has ever lived on this earth. He may have been the final test run engineered by the quote-unquote higher beings before the real Antichrist appears. The close relationship between Hinduism, Tibetan Buddhism, and Hitler's Nazism, therefore, tells us something important about the coming world religion of the Antichrist. It also tells us something significant about the New Age movement, which is very closely related to Hindu-Buddhist philosophy. Though it professedly rejects Hitler's Nazism, the New Age movement is in fact a revival of most of what Hitler believed, under new labels, and often new labels are not even bothered with, and no one seems to notice or care. Swami Hitler. In India today, even among the well-educated, many Hindus continue to regard Hitler as an avatar who punished the British for their earlier enslavement of India. Many Indian intellectuals still believe that the phenomenal success of the Germans during the early stages of World War II was due to the fact that, quote, the Germans somehow got hold of ancient Hindu religious texts, which had not even been completely published in India, and built their tremendous weapons from the recipes provided by those texts. Unquote. The attitude toward Hitler, still held widely in influential circles in India today, is summarized in the following remarks made by Swami Svarantrananda to a learned Hindu audience. Quote, "Whatever you may say against him, Hitler was a Mahatma, almost like an avatar. He did not eat meat, he did not have intercourse with women, he never even married, and he was the visual incarnation of Aryan polity." Unquote. When the Nazi extermination camps, gassings, and ovens are mentioned, many devout Hindu leaders refuse to believe the reports, no matter how well documented. Those who are more honest fall back upon the quote-unquote ancient wisdom in the Vedas, and especially the teaching of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, that there is no death, no one can kill the soul, so what is done to the body does not really count. An avatar, such as Hitler, is not really killing and torturing, even when that seems to be what is happening. Anything can be justified by simply, 1. Remembering that our limited understanding is obscured by Maya, illusion, and 2. Shifting to a quote-unquote higher state of consciousness, where the godhood at the end of the evolutionary process is seen as full justification for any intermediate stages. Hitler's Aryan link with Hinduism was so strong, yet so few people are willing to admit it, because Hinduism has become the prevailing worldview in the West. There were deep spiritual bonds between Nazism and Hinduism that Hindu religious leaders recognize and admire. Now and then it slips out, as when Swami Hari Giri Maharaj, an active member of the Congress Party, publicly declared in front of a large assembly, quote, "Sir, you have no right to abuse Shri Hitler and the Pandits of Germany." Unquote. The sacred swastika and initiation. Most of all, it was Hitler's use of the swastika as the symbol of the Third Reich that won the admiration and loyalty of so many Hindus. There is no symbol more sacred in Hinduism. The following words are engraved on a large stone monument honoring the swastika near Delhi, India. Quote, "This symbol is most sacred and ancient. At least for more than the last 8,000 years, it has been the mark of Aryan civilization and culture. This symbol signifies an implied prayer for success, accomplishment, and perfection in every walk of life under the guidance of the Almighty. It is found not only in India, but in the Buddhist and other foreign countries. All the Aryan scripts, Sanskrit, Pali, Tibetan, Chinese, Japanese, Burmese, Siamese, Sinhalese, Roman, Greek, Latin, etc., are believed to have originated from this very symbol." Unquote. What could possibly be wrong with a symbol that signifies a prayer to God? Clearly everything depends upon who this God is. Part of the religious catechism that each SS member had to learn and swear went like this, quote, "We believe in God. We believe in Germany, which He created in His world, and in the Führer, Adolf Hitler, whom He has sent us." Unquote. What God sent Hitler to the Germans? There can be no doubt that it was Brahman, the god of Hinduism, for in their catechism the Death's Head SS also learned that, quote, "The only living being that exists is the cosmos, or universe. All other beings are only the various forms of the living universe." Unquote. Again, that is Hinduism, which is Aryanism. So it was the Aryan god of Hinduism who willed Hitler upon the world. Heinrich Himmler made this clear when he declared, quote, "It has been ordained by the karma of the Germanic world that he," that is Hitler, "should wage war against the East and save the Germanic peoples. A figure of greatest brilliance has become incarnate in his person." Unquote. Karma and reincarnation are primary Hindu beliefs that follow directly from the teaching that God is the universe and that we are all God in various manifest forms. This is also the God of Benjamin Creme, and it is belief in this God that turns Creme's Christ into a Hindu avatar, the same Aryan Christ in which Hitler believed. As Creme has said, quote, "The gospel story holds before humanity the promise of divinity, a divinity realized not alone by one extraordinary man, the Son of God, but a divinity attainable by all who make the necessary effort to expand their consciousness to include the spiritual levels. A divinity achieved, too, by a scientific process of which the Christ and His masters are the custodians, the process of initiation." Unquote. This is Hinduism again, and this is Hitler's Aryanism. The initiation is also common ground. Is it mere coincidence that the newspaper of the Planetary Initiative for the World We Choose is called The Initiator? Hitler was an initiate, and so were all of the Nazi leaders and members of the dreaded SS. Benjamin Creme and other New Agers and or followers of Lord Maitreya would deny any link with Hitler or Nazism. Nevertheless, the idea of realizing one's own godhood through an initiation process involving higher states of consciousness is common to all Hindu-Buddhist occult systems, Hitler's as well as Creme's. There are many in the New Age movement who would deny that they are part of any movement at all, and they would also deny that they believe anything even remotely related to Hitler's Aryan occultism. They are allowing themselves to be deceived by labels. As Suster so well said, quote, "As long as our terms are sufficiently modern, we are on safe ground. Yoga we can label psycho-cybernetics, and magic, applied mind dynamics, and this makes them respectable. Unfortunately, in considering Adolf Hitler, we are also forced to consider the possibility that the world of spirits and demons may have some objective existence." Unquote. Today's New Age swamis and gurus expect the same surrender of mind and will as did Hitler, and their quote-unquote new or higher revelations, reached on drugs, in yoga, etc., are usually just a rephrasing of Hitler's Aryan mysticism. We can see with clarity the horror of Nazism, yet millions of sincere Germans fail to recognize it until it was too late. Is it possible that today's world is being deceived by the same lie on an even grander scale? If so, then the coming Holocaust will be indescribable by present language or concepts. If prophecies in the Bible are to be believed, and they have proved 100% accurate to date, then Hitler and National Socialism gave us a preview of something far bigger and more evil yet to come. Those who fail to recognize this will become the next victims. We must seriously ask ourselves which is the greater blindness, the inability of those living at that time to face up to what was really happening in the 1930s in Germany, or our refusal today, with all the facts laid out before us, to acknowledge the real truth about Hitler. The Hindu-Buddhist occult connection is clearly there for all to see who are willing to face the facts, and so is the equally obvious link to the present New Age movement. There is, however, another force in the world today that poses as the enemy of Hitler's fascism, yet is its twin, and the world honors it. This force claims to work for peace and prosperity, when in fact it will play a key role in the coming Holocaust.